Thank you for visiting the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast, where we share the big and most interesting cycling stories from across the continent of Africa and from around the world where African cyclists are racing and riding.
Hello again, and welcome to the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast. Today has been a very exciting day with the World Cycling Centre UCI Continental team's 10-rider roster being announced on ProCyclingStats, and history being made with 5 female African riders appearing on the list. This is historic, and it's the first time that all 4 corners of Africa have been represented on a professional women's cycling team. To react to this news and discuss this, we have 2 guests tonight. Firstly, Shannon Portho, the co-founder of Rwanda Bookmobile Charity and a very active supporter of the Nabagaba women's cycling team in Rwanda. And Kimberly Coates, the CEO of Africa Rising Cycling. Both these women have been involved in African women's cycling development for many years. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy, thanks a bunch for having us. I'm so excited today.
It's been a pretty spectacular day. Shannon, let's start with you. Obviously, Gisela is on the team. How happy are you for her today, and have you spoken to her?
Yes, I am thrilled. I have had the honor of speaking with her over the past few weeks, waiting for the official announcement, and we're eagerly awaiting her visa, and she's got her suitcase packed. She's ready to go.
Fantastic news. And talk us through a little bit your history with her, the club that you support, that she rides for, and how she's got to this moment.
This has been an incredible journey. I started supporting Gisela around the time of COVID when young girls were not going back to school. And Gisela was a very passionate road cyclist. And we put her on a container bike of a mountain bike and a road bike. And we started supporting her. She's a fast learner and she has a great smile, a great laugh. And she has taken us on an incredible journey and learn English, learn some French, learn a lot about being a cyclist, about sportsmanship. And it's been an honor to accompany her to discover cycling myself. I'm there supporting women in sportsmanship and fair play. And she's a prime example of that as a Rwandan cyclist. So it has not been an easy journey because it's a lot of discovery and a lot of solutions, but she's made it onto a team. She was very shy and she's come in to be a very happy, very eager to learn, very kind cyclist. So we are very lucky.
And that's important, right? Having the well-rounded side of being a cyclist, education, being open. I mean, Kim, you know Rwandan cycling incredibly well. Like, what are your thoughts on Gisela?
I am so excited for this moment because I just remember in the early days when I landed in Rwanda, sitting at the table with the Federation and just saying, we need women cycling. And of course, I was the only woman at the table with all these men. And they kept saying to me, well, we don't have any female cyclists. I said, you don't have any female cyclists because you have no races for females. I said, build it and they will come. And so gradually we started building it. And what's great about Shannon's organization is she gets the really little kids on Strider bikes. And she's really building that foundation in Rwanda. And I think it's just the beginning. I mean, we still have a long way to go. There's still not enough races. But for Gisela, this is a huge accomplishment because even with Rwanda having the world championships, they still do not have a large contingency of female cyclists. It's getting better, but we have to continue to help growing that. And I'm like really excited about this new academy coming online with the VPC that Pascal is really focused on women's cycling. So I'm hoping we will see lots more Giselas in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those not familiar, the VPCs are the virtual performance centers that we're helping build across Africa. And there is now one in Rwanda. We've seen footage today of 6 women on Zwift riding and training, which is hugely exciting. In that vein, Kimberly, obviously Africa Rising has been working in Benin now for the last 3 years. And one of the big moments of this announcement is Georgette's Vignon photo. Talk us through it, and why is this so important?
Well, Georgette is so important for several reasons. Number one, she is the first, not only woman, but first Benin rider to get a pro contract. So she busted through um, that obstacle very quickly and got onto a team. She's Georgette is she's an incredibly fast learner. She's not been riding for very long. She's fun. I have spent many days with her in the team house in Benin. Everybody loves her, but she is a fierce competitor. She's like, we have this phrase in English, like a horse to the barn, when the horse is getting close to home, he takes off. And that's Georgette. It's hard to restrain her. And she's doing all of her training right now with their assistant coach, Salami. She is preparing for it. Her visa's, in process, and she will soon be joining Gisela and the others there. For Benin, it really like plants the flag that Benin cycling is legit, and they are going to have lots more Georgettes and hopefully some young men in the future.
That's fascinating news. And I was looking at ProCyclingStats, so she was the women's junior road and ITT champion last year and the year before. So she's clearly got some strength. But also, in reality, she's one of only 2 or 3 West African women to ever get into in the pro world as well. So it's a huge moment for that part of the world.
It's it's really it's hard to explain. It's hard to put it into words because we haven't been working there that long. And I know I've spent a decade plus saying there is real talent on this continent and there's real female talent on this continent. And now we're starting to see it break through, and that couldn't be more exciting.
Fantastic. And today across social media, we've seen a photo that we actually took at the African Continental Champs of Georgette with Lucie de Marigny-Lagesse of Mauritius with her arm around her. We actually should say Lucie Maya now, as she just got married a couple of weeks ago. And Lucie, who's 25, has agreed to be Georgette's big sister on that team. It's wonderful to see another Mauritian, obviously with all of the success of Kim LaCourte in the last year or so. Kim, how do you see the future for Lucy with is her first ever pro contract?
She just came out of nowhere, and she is a student of the sport, and she has a lot of support. You just referenced her new husband, Alexander Mayer, who races for a pro Conti team. So she's she's amazing. And to have her take Georgette under her wing, she does have more experience than Georgette because she's done some races in France. She was part of the Africa 2025 project leading up to the World Championships, and so Georgette did some races in France, but she hasn't really been on the international stage. Sadly, she had surgery at the end of the summer, so she wasn't in ideal form for the World Championships or the African Conti Champs, but she's all healed up and ready to go, and to have a mentor who, like, for Lucy, her mentor is Kim LaCourte, that's huge. It's just women pulling up women, so I love it.
And the thread running through this, I think, is education. And I remember speaking to Adrian Leonshuti, who's the head coach of Benin at the moment, and he's always said education and learning the languages is so vital for these riders when they go internationally. Shannon, several of the riders we're talking about are graduates of the World Cycling Center program. Now, how important have you seen that program in the development of Gisela?
Life-changing. I think that she has benefited. She has had the gift of being part of that team, going in very timid, very unaware, very willing. She has come transformed entirely. I believe that travel is one of the greatest forms of education, and UCI put them in a location where they created a real family. They have real brothers and sisters. There's a real solid team there and a very healthy competition. They learned about nutrition, about sleep, about cheese, about baguette, about cafe, having coffee, and the effects of it. They learned. I think they were living, breathing, learning every second of that experience. And I think we can't even imagine how culturally different it was for them and how much they absorbed together. I believe that that is a very solid team. They will have friends for life and references across Africa. It was a group of African riders in Brittany and riding around every day. I went to visit them several times, and they were strong, and they were happy, and they were learning. They were transformed. So without that experience, and without that support, we wouldn't be having Gisela wouldn't be able to handle being in Europe, being in Switzerland. The accompanying that they were offered there was vital. To me, it was something spectacular. And every time I went there, I was the mama, I was representing Kim, or I was representing someone else, making sure they were all okay. But it was so easy because they were really okay, and they were really, really, really lucky and very happy. So that program was phenomenal. Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
It's fascinating. I actually met them all in July at the Tour de France in Brittany. And I mean, imagine this moment where there's probably 200 photographers, Bidiam Gamay, Tadej Pogacar, all walking around, and they didn't look shocked. And Gisela, because
Yeah.
again, I'd seen Gisela in photos, and she always did look timid. Gisla's running around, talking to Bidiam, talking to Pogacar, talking to Christian Prudhomme, just belonging. It was wonderful to see.
Yeah, they are fantastic ambassadors for Africa. They really, really represent what we want to support. They're the real deal, and it's so much fun to watch. I got to see them at the Tour de Femmes as well, where they actually got to ride, and they they were so inspired. This will go far, far for them. And they are the mentors. Gisela is she is the mentor for so many young girls in cycling in Rwanda. They know her name. Her name is Gisela Wamakazi, and they call her Queen. And when she is there, she laughs. She has time for them. She has a team at her school. So this is the kind of rider that's going to inspire hundreds to come, for sure. And that's a lot of thank you, UCI, for that program. That program was everything. Kim paved the way in Rwanda. I am in the shadow, calling her all the time, saying, "Please help me. I don't know anything." But she paved a way for me that it was just really just without her experience in Rwanda, and without the UCI, we wouldn't be on this phone call for sure.
No, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, moving on to some of the other riders, right up to the top of Africa to Algeria, Nesrine Houili has made on the team, one of the more senior riders on the team. Kim, you know her. Like, how do you think this is a good moment for her at 22? How do you see her progressing?
She's had an interesting trajectory. And so she was on Canyon SRAM pretty early on, and she was one of the youngest riders on the Canyon SRAM development team. She only spent a year there. And to like Shannon's point about helping them feel like they belong, I think for her, it was challenging to be essentially on your own in Europe as an African cyclist. Culturally, it's challenging. You have languages to navigate, and you miss home. And so I gotta tell you, when she showed up at the African Continental Championships this year and knocked it out of the park on the ITT, I was so thrilled. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's back." And she was back, and she got herself onto a pro team. So I think for her, it was just a matter of timing and right fit. And I think you're really gonna see her progress on the UCI WCC team for sure.
Absolutely, and we should give a shout out to the Madar Pro Cycling team as well in Algeria, because she's actually a support, well, she was until now, supported rider. They don't have a women's team. They're the number one African men's team, but she's been riding in their colors and training with that group of men all year. So I think that's put her in great shape. And there are rumors of a women's team from North Africa for 2027 as well, but we'll talk about that another time. And then finally, the fifth African rider moving back over to East Africa is Kalem Taya Wantango from Ethiopia. Um, we've heard a lot of talk, and it's mainly from us, about the Ethiopian junior Tsiga Kase Kiros, who we spotted a year ago and became pretty famous at the World Championships. I think basically the best performing African rider, top 10 in the women's junior race. And she's now got a contract with Canyon Shram's under Crypto Generation. But Sakalem is another strong rider. She's been second twice in the Ethiopian national champs. She was third at the Pukovitz Mega Build Windhoek Women's Tour back in July. Kim, you know Ethiopian cycling pretty well. Like to be a top two or top three in their national champs is pretty strong, right?
It's significant because whereas a lot of countries, for example, countries I've worked in, Rwanda, Benin, Kenya, there's not a lot of women. The field is still relatively small. And I spent a lot of time in northern Ethiopia years ago, and that field of female cyclists is massive in the Tigray region. And hopefully, with the end of the war and, a tenuous peace holding, that they continue to grow. But there's literally hundreds of, Sigas and Circlons. There's just so many young women in Ethiopia. Um, challenging for the Ethiopians are visas just because of their political situation, but hopefully once the UCI and the IOC understand the importance of giving these women opportunities in Europe on a team like the UCI WCC, that will hopefully not be a significant obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we spoke to the UCI about that, they're so well connected. They're probably the best team in the world for Ethiopian athletes to get visas and travel around. That Schengen visa is pretty important to do well in this sport. Talking about the World Cycling Centre, I mean, they will be having an official team presentation of the women's team in early March. So hopefully we'll be there, or we'll have someone there to interview the riders, meet the sport director, a lady called Valentina Scandalara, and some of the World Cycling Centre staff that work pretty tirelessly to help these women and the men get to where they are. We'll try and get a podcast out in March when that comes out. Um, with this announcement today, we can also share some pretty spectacular news, and I'll get some reaction from you both to this fact in a second. 15 of the top 20 Africa Tour women have secured professional contracts for 2026. 6 African national women's road race champions will race internationally in 2026. That's double the number of the men. How does that sound to you guys? Just to hear those numbers at this moment.
Um, for me, I just got chills. I know these numbers, but when you say them out loud, I still get chills because it seems like it's taking so long to get here, and it's it's not been one moment. It's been thousands of little moments of advocating for women's cycling on the continent. And to what Shannon said about the UCI, that I think was a pivotal moment for women's cycling, was them having that special project and housing the team in France and giving them all the education. We know we have good riders, but the next step is really challenging because there are not a lot of opportunities. There's not a lot of opportunities for men in Africa on the African continent, and it's even worse for women. So I think what they did, like, if we could have that every single year, hear me, UCI, it would explode women's cycling because that was the stepping stone that they needed. So thanks to the UCI and JP Van Zyl for running that program and fighting for those women.
And Shannon, one of those 6 national champions racing in 2026 will be Gisela. We hope there will be a Santini Rwandan national champion jersey for this team. We'll see if that happens. But how does that feel to know that she will be a national champion of Rwanda racing internationally this year?
It feels like heaven. I feel like she is going to have an opportunity that is absolutely befitting to her efforts and her person. I feel like she's going to be safe. She's going to be very well surrounded, and she's going to make a new family there, and she's going to fly. She's going to fly, and she's going to fly in a way that is long term. It's not going to be a short journey. It's the beginning of an incredible journey. Well, it's been a long journey, but this is a whole other level that she's stepping up to, and she knows it. She called me the other day and she said, I need to get to Europe. I'm ready for Europe. And so there's a lot of Africans right now that are training in Kenya that are already back, that there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of other options and opportunities. And she chose to go into this team in Europe, and she's very happy with her decision, and she's so ready. So I'm thrilled. I think that she went to the Olympics and for mountain biking after racing 5 races in her life, and she did it. And she went and she flew home for the national race this year, and she took 6 national exams for her academic side, and then she went and ran the race and she won. And she's astonishing. She's like Georgette. She's gonna make it. She's and I think that they have chosen a very, very solid team, to surround themselves, lots of different levels, lots of different races that they'll be participating in. So I'm not very far away. I'm only about an hour away from the UCI and where they'll be, and I'll check in, but I'm not worried. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of her, and I'm so happy of where she's going and her choice to be there. So I'm thrilled.
I think she's going to fly is probably the headline of this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. But it's it has not been easy. It has not been easy at all. But she's determined. They all are. All those women are determined. And the fact that there's many women that are making it, I think that if we can get them the races and we can get them into something of equal stature slowly, they will perform.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, look, we look forward to sharing the results, and we'll be interviewing all of these riders in 2026, as we always do. To all of our listeners, please do take a look at our live Africa Women's Cycling Newswire on our website, where we share lots of information, results, breaking news on everything African women's cycling. Many thanks to you both for your time. We look forward to hearing from you both on many more podcasts in the future. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast. Please do keep an eye on all our Africa Rising Cycling social media channels for more news and stories, and we look forward to welcoming you back for another episode very soon.